Let's look back at the game yesterday, obviously 2-0 against Brentford, which is an unbelievable result, actually. No one, including us, gave us a hope in hell. First win since that Southampton game at the beginning of December.
Clean sheet.
In the Premier League. 2 clean sheets in a row now in Europe and in the Premier League.
And Brentford are the highest scorers at home this season.
Yeah. It was a game that everyone thought coming into it just promised goals. Mm-hmm. And I thought we did well. I thought we did well to shackle them, particularly Spence, shackling and Mbeumo. I thought he had him in his back pocket pretty much all game. And it wasn't the greatest game in the world, but I think Spurs changed it up a bit, sat deep and provided it really hard for Brentford to break down. I mean, let's get into the player ratings, and we'll start off with Kinsky. 7s all round for Kinsky, and I thought he had another really good display. Wasn't troubled that much in terms of shots, but when he was asked to make saves, he made the saves. I thought he was commanding from his corners as well. He had one kind of mishap playing out the back, but he made the save to negate that. But yeah, I mean, I'm impressed with Kinsky. I really like the look of him, and I think when it comes for corners, I think he's really strong.
Yeah, obviously it was uncharacteristic, that little mishap, just because he had the ball at his feet and for like a millisecond he just lost it and he let it roll under his foot, and I think he panicked a bit, just tried to get the ball to Bissouma, and obviously we ended up conceding a chance from it. But other than that, I think there was just 2 big moments from him. The one where I think he made a save from Norgard. I think Norgard had kind of like a half volley, which was a simple save. And then I think there was one which was the crucial really interception right in the second half. I think, again, it was Norgard, I think, on the edge of the box. Has a little dink to the back post across the floor. And if it wasn't for his crucial interception, I think Wissa taps it home in the back post. And it's a brilliant one-handed kind of just touch from Kinsky at that moment. And obviously that helped secure the clean sheet. So really good performance, solid again from him. And yeah, I think again he's been great since he's come in. I know there's been some times, look, he's still a young keeper, he's 21. There are going to be some mishaps like even during this game, but by and large he's shown such promise, isn't he?
Absolutely. Let's move on to Pedro Porro, a guy that's just played unbelievable amount of minutes this season, and I think the last couple of performances for him is something to be proud of, with tiring legs there. 7s all round for Pedro Porro. And usually with Pedro Porro, he's getting into those central spaces, really trying to influence the attack. But I think he was tasked just to stay back, cover the space, and make sure you're hard to beat. And I think that's exactly what he did in this game. 2 block shots, 7 clearances, 3 interceptions, 6 tackles. I think he put in a really strong defensive display, and I was really happy about that.
Yeah, and I think he's always such a key player in build-up as well. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Because I know he's been in poor form, but I actually think, in the last few weeks there's been more good performances and bad performances, and I think people kind of just lump in some of the bad performances with some of his poor form. But I think in general, over the last few weeks, he's been a lot better, in my opinion, than he was during that run, obviously, where he was, being overplayed and just having a terrible time of it. So I think happy with him at the moment. I think he could definitely do with the rest at some point. Hopefully, with players coming back, with centre-backs coming back, maybe Gray can give him a rest on the right, and when the doggy comes back, Spence can fill in there as well. But right now he's just having to play, but I think he had a pretty good game, so fair play to him.
Another player who's just doing such an unbelievable job for the team, and the guy is a phenomenon. He really is, and that is Archie Gray. 8s all round for Archie at centre-back yesterday, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant. 2 interceptions, 1 block shot, 5 clearances on the day. He was a man mountain yesterday. He really was, and I felt like as well. Even in the second goal, he had a bit of his hand in playing out the back, and foraging out to the right-hand side and doing some really good work on the ball. And he was forever doing great work on the ball yesterday. And when looking at him play, he just looks like a centre-back, doesn't he? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think as well, you talk about the second goal, I think he does extremely well, because there's a moment where he's in trouble and they're pressing us, and obviously I think Bergvall was stretching for the ball and he had to kind of rescue the situation. Not only did he rescue it, but he started us on an attack as well, and obviously we ended up getting the goal from it. So it went from Tottenham being under pressure to Tottenham being 2-0 up, and that's a large part thanks to how Archie Gray was. I think him and Ben Davies just managed the game brilliantly well. I thought, yes, there were some times again where there would be some mishaps in the box. Like, Wissa had a chance and things like that, but I thought by and large, again, I thought he'd done an exceptional job, and I think his development will be all the better for this little period he's had in at centre back during the season, and I think another really strong display. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we do at Anfield, because he's you could argue he's earned his spot on Thursday, but with players coming back, he could also do with a break, I feel, Archie. But fair play to him. I'm sure he's going to be seeing a lot of football from now to the end of the season, even with players coming back. Yeah,
absolutely. And another player who did unbelievably well yesterday is Ben Davies. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 9. I thought he was incredible. I really did think he was incredible. 10 clearances yesterday for Ben Davies, 1 block shot, 2 interceptions. And I talk about Archie Gray being a man mountain, but Ben Davies, thou shalt not pass yesterday. That's literally what it was. He was putting his body on the line for the team. We had to really dig deep in that second half, and I think he was, one of the main ones.
Yeah, and I think he was the one with the most clearances, like headed 10 clearances. Incredible. Considering as well, he's not known for... I know he's actually got quite a decent record when it comes to like heading ability and stuff like that, but you wouldn't associate him with someone who's aerially dominant or things like that. But I think that just goes to show his defensive awareness, his positioning is always top notch. He's such an experienced defender, and he had to go do all of that and also manage Archie Gray through the game as well, because I know he's actually been playing there a lot, but he's still an experienced centre back in that position. And I think it probably shouldn't be a surprise, that maybe we're seeing a better Archie Gray next to experienced Ben Davies rather than, a Dragoshin who's also still got his learning to do and things like that. So the last couple of games, I think, Ben Davies has been partnered with Gray, and I think we've probably been better off for it in that sense. So I think Ben Davies done a fantastic job. And again, another big decision about what we do about him on Thursday, which we'll get into later. But phenomenal from him.
Jed Spence, 9s all round for Jed, and unbelievable. I think it was pretty much a perfect left back display from Jed Spence yesterday, where when he had to defend, he defended. When he had to drive forward, he was a threat going forward and really drove through those spaces that we exploited at times. And he completely shackled Bryan Mbeumo, who's been on fire throughout the whole season. And, a lot of left-backs have struggled up against Bryan Mbeumo this season. And I thought he just got completely shackled out the game. And, he's emptying out his pockets. And Bryan Mbeumo probably came out this morning.
Next to Mo Salah, probably?
Yeah, absolutely. And... it's just criminal that he didn't see more minutes in the first half of the season. And a bit of a worrying comment from Ange Postecoglou saying that, he's going to be important to us until Destiny Udogie comes back. I hope it was just a turn of phrase more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it was, because they'll be rotated, I think, by the time Udogie comes back. Obviously, Udogie's also a fantastic player, and he's going to get game time when he comes back. But I think... hopefully, Spence can move over to the right more, because I want to see him there when Udogie does come back. But I think he's getting more and more comfortable on the left for sure as the weeks go by. I think especially a lot more comfortable with his dribbling ability. Again, brilliant. I think he completed 3 hours, 3 dribbles. I think got 2 key passes, so he's making more of an impact offensively as well as the weeks go by. But I think the main attributes in this game, the main strengths were his defensive play, and I think Mbeumo kept really quiet, which is not an easy feat. The form he's been in, how many goals he got this year? Like 15 goals or something, or goal contributions at least. And there was that one time he kind of got the better of Spence, and his shot was saved by Kinsky. But other than that, he just kept him quiet. He dealt with him with ease, and I feel like maybe. I wonder if he gets a lot of. I wonder if it kind of suits him defensively. The fact that he isn't a kind of player that is a right-footed left back, because in this day and age we know how wingers like to cut inside, the likes of Salah and Mbeumo, and the fact they're cutting inside onto Spence's strong foot. Maybe that helps him in a weird way defend those situations better than most other fullbacks, when they're always cutting in on the fullback's weaker foot. But I think maybe it hampers him offensively, but he seems to be improving on that. But either way, phenomenal performance. I think probably rightly given man of the match. And I think he seems to be growing. And the consistency he's had since that Southampton game when he came in December, it's been remarkable, really. I don't think he's had a bad game, really, since he's come in. Maybe the odd game. but he's been fantastic, and I don't think Ange could have asked any more from him since he's come in. He's been phenomenal, and that's credit to him, it's credit to his mentality. He waited for his opportunity, and he's absolutely grabbed it with both hands at this point. And he's got to start on Thursday for sure, and he's been great.
The only game I can remember him kind of lacking defensively and coming under real intense pressure where he hasn't been able to handle it really is the Newcastle game with Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
Apart from that game,
and maybe that's no surprise, seeing as Murphy will go on his weak foot. Maybe that proves my point, but that plays into, he likes facing those inverted wingers rather than the ones who go on the outside.
Yeah. No, I agree. Next up is Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. Another one, I think he's really stepping up for the team of late. Since he's come back from injury, he's been brilliant. He really has. And yesterday, he really shielded that back four really well, provided amazing defensive cover. And on the ball as well, he provided so much value. 3 key passes on the day, and he just keeps the ball ticking, drives us forward as well. But I think, again, like we said about the back four, I think his best attributes yesterday was his defensive work for the team. Yeah,
and obviously involved in the second goal as well. Nice ball out to Son, who obviously set up Sarr. But I agree. I think when he's at his best and he's in this kind of mood, he's an unbelievable midfielder, and we've seen that when he's at his best, he can be up there with some of the best central midfielders in the league when he's in consistent form. And unfortunately for him, we know the circumstances he's been under for the last 2 years, pretty much, injuries and suspensions and whatnot. But let's hope that's behind him now, because when he's in this kind of form like he was yesterday, he's a joy to behold, and I thought it was another really strong performance, and we're going to need him over the next few weeks for sure. But I think, him and Bissouma next to each other, hopefully maybe they can start to have a bit of a partnership, because they don't play together much. It's usually one or the other, but they both started yesterday, and I thought they linked up quite well. So let's hope for more of that.
And we'll get on to Bissouma up next. 7's all round for Biss. I think it was an okay display. I think it was a good display, but I think just Bentancur was that much better. It was an all action. His on the ball spreading of the play looked really good. He was getting involved in the duels, providing defensive cover. I just expect more, like, with his ability on the ball. I want to see him drive through the centre of the pitch a bit more, which I didn't see him do too much yesterday, which he's definitely got in his locker. But I think, we could be seeing signs of something forming together with them two there.
Yeah, and I think those two we know are going to really have to step up with the injuries that we've had. I think they, especially Bissouma's been running on empty a few games, albeit he's played quite well a few games. I thought we had a pretty good game defensively. I think on the ball could have done a bit better, but I thought it was a pretty solid display. And these two players in midfield together, it's something that we just haven't seen enough, or definitely haven't seen enough perform well together. So let's hope this is the start of something.
Decky up next. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I mean, our attacking display was fairly blunt, but he was the most creative spark out there, and a bit of nice link-up play with him and Mikey Moore in the first half, where he was able to get in behind and have a shot. He had 4 shots on the day, 1 blocked and 3 off target. So, and in terms of how creative he was, I mean, like I said, he was our most creative outlet, but still he wasn't as creative as maybe he usually is. And I think it's just more signs of him being knackered, really.
Yeah, I thought he looked better in the first half when he was in midfield.
Yeah.
Definitely there was a few moments where he got the ball into feet, twisting away from people, especially inside the box. And I think a couple of times he put that ball across the face for Richarlison, did he, and nearly got on the end of it. And then there was another one where, I can't remember someone, but I think it might be Moore, passed it into him. He does an unbelievable spin away from the defender. Moore, yeah. And then he beat the keeper to the ball and again put it across the face, and no one was there. So there was a few moments, I thought, from Decky which were really good. But I thought second half, once he moved over to the right, again, probably tiring, again, not his favourite position at the moment. I think struggled a bit more in that position. And I think, again, when we talk about his recent poor form, I think, again, that plays into it, the fact that he's doing a shift on the right a lot compared to when he's in the middle, when he's a lot better, in my opinion. So I think that's also, on top of fatigue, that's probably played into it a bit more as well. But yeah, I thought first half he was dangerous, and I thought it wasn't a bad game.
Mikey Moore up next. 6 all round for Mike. He did only last 45 minutes. And I thought he did do some nice stuff, but again, I did feel he looked like... I felt like Brentford were able to physically dominate him a little bit. But when he did get on the ball, I did think he showed signs of quality. Like I said, a bit of link-up play with Kulusevski, and also some lovely crosses to the back post, which we didn't make the most out of. So, yeah, I mean, did they take him off because of maybe the gap in physicality, or is it, you know, maybe because we need him at Anfield? I don't know.
Or maybe it was pre-planned. Obviously, he played 90 minutes on against Elfsborg, didn't he? So
Yeah.
Maybe the thought was, you know,
Protecting him a bit.
Yeah, protecting him, get Sarr on. Who knows? Sorry, Bergvall. Give Bergvall 45 minutes at the break. I thought he didn't look out of place, but obviously, again, similar to Decky, again, being on the right is not his favourite position when he has to go on the outside. He actually looked his most dangerous when he got the ball and drives into that space inside, and that's when he was looking to make things happen. When he's asked to like take on his defender on the outside, it's just he seemed to struggle to have the beating of them, it seemed. But there were some nice moments in there from him. He still looked like a Premier League player. And also there was one moment where could he have had a penalty, I guess is the question. He got shoved over in the box and the referee just kind of waved play on. VAR wasn't interested, but on another day, you know, referee could have pointed to the spot for it.
Yeah, if we're Arsenal fans, we're crying about that till the cows come home, that's for sure. And we're saying that there's a conspiracy theory against us and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it could have been given a penalty. It really could have. But look, it is what it is. It wasn't given. Richarlison up next. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I thought he was poor. And what really frustrates me about Richarlison is that what you were talking about before with the Kulusevski drives through the face of the goal, and also the more kind of crosses to the back post. I think if Solanke's on the pitch, I think he scores at least one of those. And it's really frustrating because Richarlison needs to be making those runs, and he doesn't do it as often enough, and he just doesn't get involved in the gameplay as well as much as Dom Solanke does. So I do think we're missing quite a bit when Solanke doesn't play and Richarlison is there, and maybe he is just working his way back to full fitness and stuff like that, but he didn't make enough of an impact in the game for me.
Yeah, we know Richarlison, even at his best last season, as much as he was scoring goals, he never offered what Solanke offers us. Solanke offers something completely different. Like in terms of hold-up play, in terms of ability to make the ball stick, in terms of that running in behind, chasing lost causes, those kind of things. I think Richarlison obviously works his socks off. I think no one can deny that. But I just think the quality when it comes to when we ping the ball into feet, when we're asking him to trap the ball, when we're asking him to hold off a defender and also play other players into play, he's just not as good as Solanke. He's like Solanke light kind of in those aspects. I think when he gets into the box and things like that, I think he does come alive, and I think he's not too different to Solanke inside the box. I think it's more outside the box where you really see the difference. But yesterday, though, as you say, there were a few occasions where could have got at the end of things, where if he made smarter runs or timed his runs better, or even was picked out, he could have been on the end of it, got a goal. Didn't happen for him, but I did think he, in terms of the way he presses and the way he ran his socks off and made a nuisance of himself, he was still doing that. But obviously, you know, at this level, we need a bit more from him, and I think it's fair to say we probably needed a bit more from Richie yesterday.
But what we do know about Richarlison is he usually scores at Anfield, so maybe that's
also
good.
True. Also true.
That's a good omen. But let's move on. Last of the starting 11, Son Heung-min, 8 all round for Sonny. And I feel like in the last couple of games, he's really starting to step it up, Sonny. Really starting to see him get back to some really high levels. And I think this game was another showing of that. You know, 2 key passes on the day. His corners yesterday were looking really dangerous, weren't they? The way he whips in. And I felt like Spurs, in general, as a team, were just putting a lot more pressure on the opposition keeper, maybe that we've been not been doing in the past. And one of the goals was obviously forced by that, the own goal. Was it by Janelt, the goal? And obviously a lovely pass in behind to Pape Matar to get us the 2-0. But he did look like our biggest threat throughout.
Yeah, I think obviously the last 4 games you've got a double at Hoffenheim. I thought Leicester, he was probably our best player, especially in the first half. Elfsborg, I thought he was magnificent in that first half. And then you had Brentford, where he has a hand in both goals. So hopefully there's signs of him really coming into form, and he's looking a lot fresher. I think definitely when the ball at his feet and his speed looks a lot better in recent weeks than it had maybe before. Maybe when he was being overplayed and fatigued and all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of, have we given him a break, or he's just somehow found that a little bit of energy. Even if you go a bit further back, obviously he scored at Arsenal as well not that long ago. So in the last 6 games, he's I think got he's got 3 goals and 1 assist in the last 6 games. So he's definitely starting to get a few more goal contributions. And as you say, the corners. Definitely he's causing problems with those corners. I think Bissouma, if you can see actually from that corner, causing a nuisance from himself between the keeper and the Brentford player. Something that, again, we've seen other clubs do it, and we've bemoaned that we don't do it. And it's something that we did because the keeper, I don't know if Flecken wasn't there, was it? So it was a different keeper, but he just completely flapped it. He just couldn't get near it. He was weak. I think Bissouma, all he did was stand his ground. So I think, look, if other players were okay, but it's legal for them to do it. It's absolutely legal for Bissouma. And I thought all Son had to do was completely put it on a plate, cause the chaos, and that is exactly what happened. And I completely agree. I think his corners in the last few weeks is something clearly he's been improving on. Obviously, he scored directly from one against Man United, and I think it's something that's causing a lot of danger. And the pass for the second goal, beautiful, right into the path of Sarr. Defence splitting pass, and obviously he got the goal. Wasn't an easy finish, but we'll get into Sarr later. But brilliantly timed pass, weight of pass by Sonny, and again, that's something that we've noted definitely in the last season or so. That element of his game has definitely been improving in terms of not just being a clinical finisher, but his creativity and that passing ability is on display, and was full on display yesterday. So he had an important hand in our win yesterday.
Lucas Bergvall, who came on at half-time for Mikey Moore. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. He did have one pop-up goal where the keeper was equal to, but I think what he did add was just a lot more energy, more energy as well in his legs in the second half. He was putting himself about, but I don't think it was like any sort of top display like we have seen from him in the past. I think he has been tiring through games over the last couple of weeks, and maybe this is more evidence of that, but I still think like he added value to the team.
Definitely, and obviously he needed a break because this is an 18-year-old who's similar to Gray, who needs a break. Just been churning out 19-minute performances for a while, and now with Bissouma and Bentancur and Sarr back in the frame, it's important that we gave him that rest and protected him. I do wonder if we were, managing his minutes ahead of a potential start at Anfield on Thursday. But I thought he came on, did okay. I don't think it was his best display, but obviously in terms of the second goal, he did kind of save the situation, because I thought Kinsky's pass wasn't great to him, and he just about stretches and gets there before the Brentford player does, and kind of saves what would have been a terrible mistake. And obviously we then go up, build up from the back and get a second goal from it. So thankfully that played into our favour. But yeah, I didn't think it was one of his better ones.
Pape Matar Sarr, the last player that we're going to rate. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. And when Spurs were under so much pressure in that second half, we just needed some sort of outlet. And he came on and he provided that brilliant run into the box, found by Sonny, and such an underrated finish as well, through the keeper's leg, just slipped it through there. And
outside of the boot, wasn't it?
Was it outside the boot as well?
So, just like kind of toed outside of the boot. I thought
it was just like a little toe poke.
Yeah, I think if I watched it again, it was kind of like outside of the boot.
But anyway, we just needed that at that moment in time in the game, because we were just coming under pressure. And look, we were batting them away. They didn't really test Kinsky that much, but at that moment in time, a really good team goal as well. Everyone was pretty much involved, and Sarr of late hasn't done that enough in terms of make those runs in behind the defence and charge into the box like we've seen him do in the past. And he did that in this game and won us the game essentially. And 5 goals, 2 assists in all competitions for Pape this season, which is brilliant for a player like him. And he hasn't been of great form of late. And I just gave him an 8, not because of what he did in the game essentially, but pretty much just because of that moment. It's just something that we desperately needed, and I think he got us those 3 points.
And hopefully it can start a turn of form for him, because you've got to remember earlier in the season he was on fire. Like, there was a period where he was every game he was looking brilliant, and maybe it was again the injuries, he was being overplayed and all these kind of stuff that led to him a downturn in form. But I know of late he's been injured and he's just come back, and didn't start this game but came off the bench, and that seemed to give him that little bit of energy, and that burst through the heart of the Brentford defence was very much needed at that point. And was it the 90th minute they scored the goal? Was it just before then? 86.
Sarr's goal.
Yeah, was it
87th minute?
87. So right at the end of the game. Really important moment because, again, hanging on to a 1-0 lead was always a precarious situation. And if we don't get that goal, do we succumb to the pressure? Who knows? But it was a massive relief when that second goal went in, and that energy that Sarr brought just to make sure he makes that lung-bursting run was fantastic. I thought it was a good cameo from him, and we're going to need all our centre mids coming back and being in good form, and hopefully now we have them, we can start to rotate them and manage them a bit better.
And Dane Scarlett came on for the last 10 minutes. We're not going to give him a rating, but I think he put himself about a lot in the number 9 position. Looks very aggressive up there, and I think after his goal should give him a lot of confidence, and I think he'll be used quite a bit from now to the end of the season.
Definitely until Solanke's back, that's for sure. He seems to be more trusted than Lancashire. You know, he's thrown him in. Obviously, he came on and scored on Thursday, and I thought, I think he looked all right physically when he came on against Brentford. Obviously, he didn't have too much involvement, but I thought he looked decent. And look, maybe this could be the start of him really launching his Tottenham career. Let's hope, because I think he's had a decent couple of games, and hopefully Ange can really start trusting him in a few more.
Well, Harry Kane, a few failed loan moves, and it was the Europa League that sprung him into life. So maybe it could be the same for Dane. But let's finish off talking about Ange Postecoglou. 8 all round for Ange. And you know what? Yesterday was a real hard-working, workmanlike, gritty away performance that sometimes you need in the Premier League, and we haven't seen that too many times this season, or even under Ange in general. But he changed it up. We sat deep. We didn't foray forward. The wing backs didn't foray forward that much, and Ange, I think tactically got it spot on yesterday with a tiring Spurs team. We just had to win a different way than what we usually did, and I think he did that yesterday, and hopefully we see a lot more of that moving forward, because I feel like maybe we have tried it, but we haven't executed it in recent weeks. But I thought yesterday the team executed it to perfection. We had to sit deep, soak up the pressure, and every defender and the midfield had to be on their job, and I think they were. So credit to Ange to setting up the team the way he did. And with that win, you could probably safely say we're staying up.
I think so. I think any thoughts of relegation, which I said, I'm pretty sure when March comes around, we won't have any. There won't be any talk of relegation anymore, because I think we'll be well clear of it. And I think, we're 10 points clear now, and I think at this point it's even tough to say whether Ipswich and Leicester will get another 10 points at this point. So. I think we could lose every game and maybe even stay up, but I think we should be all right in that front. But in terms of Ange, I actually don't think this performance was a massive departure from what we've seen in recent weeks. I just think it
was executed.
I just think it was executed better. I think last few weeks we have seen similar level of performance. I don't think we were marvelous in this game. I don't think in terms of the football we were playing or anything, it was massively impressive. But I do think it was fairly similar to games, maybe not the Everton game, which was a disaster, but outside the Everton game, it was, I think, fairly similar in terms of taking an early lead and then coming under the pressure. But this time we kind of stood up to it. Maybe I think this was the first time we saw Davies and Gray together, potentially, because I think against Leicester was Dragoshin and Davies, wasn't it? It does seem, maybe from Dragoshin's point of view, is it a bit worrying? We do seem to be better without him consistently when he's not on the team.
You would
compared
think,
to when he is there.
Like, with the way we played yesterday tactically, that would suit Dragoshin. You would think that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying But my point is, we've done that recently as well, and we haven't stood up to scrutiny. And going away to the best attacking side statistically at home in the Premier League and keeping a clean sheet is no mean feat, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. I just think the defence was a lot stronger in this one. I think they stood up to scrutiny. I don't think actually it was anything major tactically we did differently. I just think the players stood up. I think that was the difference. And I think in recent weeks we've been making stupid mistakes, and defenders have been doing mishaps, and it's been too easy for the opposition to kind of capitalise on those mistakes. But I think in this one we just didn't make those mistakes really, or at least Brentford did capitalise. And they did have obviously a couple of chances. Wissa had a glaring one he really should have scored from in the second half, that header that went over the bar. Other than that, outside of that, obviously Spence cleared on off the line, but again that would have been a good goal if they scored that. So apart from those moments, there wasn't anything glaring they had massive. So I think maybe the midfield, maybe the fact that Bissouma, Bentancur were a bit fresher and they could maybe help out the defence a lot more than the midfield had been doing with the tiring Bergvall and an unfit Sarr and things like that before that. So I think that also helped. So this game I'm delighted we won, and I think it was a great win, and we needed that win desperately, especially going into a massive game on Thursday. I don't see this as like something revolutionary or something brand new we saw. I just think we're performing fairly similar to what we've seen, just to a better standard with probably more energy and less mistakes.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. It's just, executed a lot better than what we have seen in the past. And like you say, we definitely needed that with the biggest week in our season coming. Liverpool on Thursday, Aston Villa on Sunday. And hopefully these two wins against Elfsborg and against Brentford. I mean, I've said it so many times throughout the season whenever we've got big wins. Yeah. But I just hope that this can be a kickstart of something, because not only have we got 2 wins with 2 clean sheets in 2 big games, we've got 2 big games coming. But we've also, after this Liverpool game, you're going to see a lot of players starting to filter back if we don't get more injuries. So, look, it could kickstart something, but I'm hesitant to say it just because of what we've been through all season.
But in terms of getting onto the conversation again, which we always comes back down to, is Angie and Anjou, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that does quieten down a bit after yesterday's win, which is great. But I guess it was always the narrative going into Thursday that his job could be riding on that cup game. But do you think that's still the case?
Well, I mean, the narrative was going into the Hoffenheim and the Leicester game, if he loses both those games, that he's out of a job. Now, since that, we're actually 3 wins and 1 loss in our last 4 games.
Yeah.
That's the form that we're on. So we're actually, form does seem to be turning a little bit. We do have 2 big cup games coming up with Liverpool and Aston Villa, and I think we just got to ride the wave and just see what happens.
So do you think if we lose the next 2 games,
will he be sacked?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel like we're pretty much safe from the drop. If we go out of the cups, we go out of the cups. I think they'll just assess it at the end of the season.
I agree. I think he's got the job to win, especially until we go out Europa League anyway. I don't see us being in the Europa and them sacking him, unless again we somehow get close to the drop again. I think, which with that situation, I think going to be put to one side. I'm sure we're going to get enough wins from now to the end of the season to get us back and probably up to mid-table, I would say, or at least not near the drop. I think even if we lose these 2 cup games, he probably doesn't get sacked. I think if we go out Europa League, let's say we go out in the round of 16 of Europa League, then I think there's probably a conversation. But I think until that point, I think they'll probably give him the Europa League campaign.
Not to say that we won't lose again in the next few weeks, but it does feel like with the form that we're on, things are starting to calm down a little bit. We are seeing to see us come through the other end. It's all about now what it looks like from now to the end of the season, how far we can go in the cups to assess Ange's job properly at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what the club will be doing. And I think, look, there's still so much for us to play for. As much as the league, it's not a good situation. We're not going to be getting anywhere in the league, unfortunately. That's reality. The league's gone. But with the cups, this competition still in. Again, I've said this consistently. We could be a good cup team. There's no reason why not. Once we got our players back, there's no reason to fear anyone in these cup competitions. On our one-off games, we can take the game to anyone, especially in that Europa League over 2 legs as well. Especially when teams come to the Tottenham Stadium at home and we're looking to overwhelm them, and by then hopefully we'll really have our first choice 11 back. Plus they'll be fresher. I mean, I think we could be excited about the prospect, but let's just look one step at a time. Thursday and Sunday, it's a massive few days. If we somehow get through both those games, then that is all set up for us, I think, for the second half of the season. I really believe that.
All right, so there you have it. Those are the player ratings from the 2-0 win at the G-Tech yesterday. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Before we move on, again, the amount of messages